So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita today, chapter 5, text number 17, sorry. Just to explain, this chapter is very special because if you know the Bhagavad Gita, it has 18 chapters, right? You know that, you're aware there are chapters. The Bhagavad Gita is a very special book. It's divided into 3 sections. The first 6 chapters, chapters 1 through 6, then the middle 6 chapters, chapters 7 through 12, and then the last 6 chapters, chapters 13 through 18. So each section has a theme. You know, the first part is like the introduction kind of to yoga. You have the karma yoga, you have the jnana yoga, you have the meditation yoga, you have the combination of karma and jnana yoga. And then the middle 6 chapters, they're all about bhakti, basically. It's kind of the heart of the Gita. And that's from 7 through 12. And then the last 13, there is further elaboration, more technical, going to get into more technical details, and also summarization. You summarize, you summarize the whole teachings like that. So this chapter 5 is special in the sense that, in the 3rd chapter, which we did go through last year, or year before also, we were talking about karma yoga. So people know what karma yoga, you know what karma yoga is. You have some idea of what karma yoga, like Haldur, what is karma yoga in your understanding?
Selfless service.
Selfless service. Very good. Yes, karma yoga. What's your definition of your understanding?
Karma yoga, so maybe, I don't know, I heard that when people live and they take, they do the job and they take the fruits for themselves, but when they doing this karma yoga, as I understand, they give fruits to Krishna.
Yeah.
If I am correct.
So that these are all touching on the subject of karma yoga. Yeah. So karma yoga is basically that. Karma yoga is meant for people who are who like most people are not philosophers. Most people are busy working, doing something. Like they are usually attached to their home, their family, their work, and their society like that. So most people can do this part of yoga, is that they continue doing what they're doing. They continue working or having their relationships, but they apply detachment to it. They take some of they just know, okay, I have this position, I just keep doing it, but I'm not doing it because I want something from it. I try and do it as a duty, not attached to results, and trying to connect this duty to Krishna. So you, like you say, you take some of the fruit, you give to Krishna, you apply a spiritual goal to your life. So this kind of karma yoga is like that. So the idea of yoga is that when you do this, you develop within you spiritual consciousness, spiritual understanding. By doing this, you get jnana, or this spiritual knowledge. So that is where the next chapter 4 is about. Chapter 4 is about transcendental knowledge, or jnana yoga. So usually people think jnana yoga means just someone who is not a practical person, who just wants to like study or meditate and understand how they're not the body, So transcendental knowledge. So this is what transcendental knowledge is. The title of chapter 4 is transcendental knowledge, and really, in this chapter, Krishna really explains that transcendental knowledge is really a knowledge of Krishna himself, understanding Krishna, the God, and also understanding the soul being different from the body, and the soul and God being having a relationship on the transcendental platform. So that chapter focuses on that development of transcendental knowledge, and in that to get that transcendental knowledge, it's similarly just like in chapter 3. You do things that make you spiritual, realize. So some people do karma yoga, they do different activities, they dedicate their fruits to Krishna, or they do sacrifices, They engage in activities that are offered to Krishna, or they either they offer material fruits to Krishna, or they even offer their own mind to Krishna. They offer their intellect to Krishna by understanding Krishna like that, or they engage in like celibacy, celibate lifestyle. So they do different things to become to gain like a spiritual perception of the spirit of their soul, of that they're not the body. So this is Jnana Yoga, and in that chapter, the middle of the chapter, it's said, and in that chapter, those different activities that are given, they are actually very Vedic. They're very much part of the Vedic culture, the ancient Indian culture. So which we don't have today. We don't really have that culture around us. But then in the Gita, Krishna says that if you are the most sinful of sinners, even if you're not a spiritual, someone who is very well situated in this very pious, very like pure culture, if you get transcendental knowledge, then you can cross over everything. And he says also that you can just get this knowledge from a guru. If you find a guru, someone who is a self-realized soul, that person, or he or she, I mean, you can also have anyway, that person can see who you are and give you transcendental knowledge. If you assist that person, if you serve that person, you listen to that person, you follow that person's instructions, and actually, even if you are not, it doesn't matter who you are, even if you're here in Iskcon in 2021, not in India, not in a Vedic culture, you can actually be given this transcendental understanding. The Guru can give you a perception. So that's actually the chapter 4. So chapter 4 talks about how to become spiritually realized. And then chapter 5, and this is confusing because it says Karma Yoga, action and Krishna consciousness. So basically chapter 5 is combining this chapter 3 versus Karma Yoga and chapter 4 versus transcendental knowledge. You take the two and you marry them together. So you still are doing activities, but you have this transcendental knowledge at the same time, or this Krishna consciousness, basically. So transcendental knowledge just means Krishna consciousness, because what is transcendental knowledge? Transcendental knowledge is understand who God is, Krishna, who you are as a soul, and what is your relationship. So that's or Krishna consciousness, really. So action in Krishna consciousness. So you act, but in Krishna consciousness. So that's actually the point. It's devotional service, but also even if you are not doing devotional, even if you have a job or something, you still are Krishna conscious. You see Krishna in everything. You see everything is Krishna's energy, and everything is meant for His pleasure. So even though you are doing a regular job, you still have it. You can apply Krishna consciousness to it. You can see Krishna in everything, and so it's basically a higher form of Karma Yoga. A very pure form of Karma Yoga, or actually it's devotional service, really. So this is what this chapter is about. So I'm going to read the verse, and I'm also going to refer to the last Sunday I did give a class online, and I really like that the point being made there is the same point as being made here. So I'm going to really, really hammer this point. It's so important. It's for me, for you, for anyone. So we don't have the books yet because we have packed all our books in the boxes. So I'm just going to read the Sanskrit. First, before I do the Sanskrit, I'm going to ask you to repeat after me this invocatory mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So chapter 5, text 17, Sanskrit, Tad Buddhayas Chad Atmanas Tad Nishtas Tad Parayanaha Kachandya Punaravritim Jnana Nirdhuta Kalmashaha. So I'm going to read the Sanskrit word. Tad Buddhayaha, those whose you can actually repeat it with me. Tad Buddhayaha, those whose intelligence is always in the Supreme.
Those whose intelligence is always in the Supreme.
Tat Atmanaha, those whose minds are always in the Supreme.
those whose minds always remain supreme.
So buddhaya and atmana. So this is mind and intelligence. Tad nishta, those whose faith is only meant for the supreme.
Is only meant for the supreme.
So there's buddhi, atma, and nishta. So three things. Tad parayana, who have completely taken shelter of him.
Who have completely taken shelter of him.
Gachanti, go.
Go.
Apuna avriti, to liberation.
To liberation.
Jnana, by knowledge.
By knowledge.
Nirdhuta,
Nirdhuta.
cleansed.
Cleansed.
Kalmasaha,
Kalmasaha.
Kalmasha,
Kalmasha.
misgivings.
Misgivings.
Gachanti apuna avriti. Yeah, I'm just sorry. I'm done with it. I'm just saying the term is interesting how Krishna uses the word liberation in a negative sense. There's apuna, not again. Avriti means material life. So you ending material life. Translation: when one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So can you repeat after me? When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So I just want to see misgivings. Do you know what misgivings means? Okay. A feeling or doubt of apprehension about the outcome or consequences of something. You understand that? So the feeling of doubt or apprehension about the outcome or consequences of something, the misgiving. Interesting. So you understand what it means now? It just means that it means basically doubt. Like I have my misgivings about whether to go to Salesforce tomorrow or something. I have doubts. What will happen if I do that? So the reason why we don't take to Krishna consciousness or to spiritual life 100% is that we have misgivings. We have something. It's like saying, if I really do that 100%, what about this or what about that? We have all these misgivings, these doubts, or how I say, holdbacks. What's the word? What's the word? You have
holding back.
Yeah, something holding us back. Like there's a word like the holdback, or like there's another word in English. No, I have some memory of that. Something is holding you back. Like reluctant, or like doubtful. Like it's like you don't want to take the leap. Look before a leap. So there's there's a saying in Icelandic called al hika er að tapa. If you hesitate, you lose, because if you don't jump, if you don't give all your energy into something, then you won't get that. It's kind of this. It's an interesting saying, and I always had this thought about what does it mean to hesitate is to lose, because you are actually doing, even if you do something, but you're still hesitant. It doesn't mean you don't. But it means that if you are competing with someone else and you are a little hesitant, you're not giving all, and then of course that person will probably win you. So anyway, this is the point of misgivings, that how do you give up misgivings? So what Krishna is saying here, he gives 4 things. You have intelligence. We all have intelligence. We have a mind. We have faith. We all have faith in something. And we have a refuge. So refuge means something you take shelter of, something you actually, where do you take shelter? So some people who are like addicts, for instance, what is their problem? Is that they take shelter of something like unhealthy, like of alcohol or food or whatever. They take shelter of something when they have a problem, or like that's where they take shelter. Or television, let's say. Some people are like addicted to television, so they have to like have a television on all the time. Otherwise, they're not okay. So these things, there's intelligence, mind, refuge, and faith. So when you take all of those things and you fix them on Krishna, on the Supreme, then you can become free. Then all those doubts will be cleared out. Then there's basically your whole mind and your whole consciousness becomes illumined. So you see, there is no reason not to fully surrender to Krishna. There is no reason not to. There's no reason not to. All these reasons why you don't surrender will be basically cleared away. And then you can proceed straight on the path of liberation. So I'm going to read the purport. Is that Carmen doing this? Yeah. Okay. Purport. The supreme transcendental truth is Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada is doing in this purport, he's basically focusing on the personal aspect of Krishna. So our real problem is that we are not accepting fully that God is a person. This is really the problem we are having. That's the only problem we have. So when you accept Krishna as a person, that's when you actually become fully liberated. So this actually what Prabhupada made this point in the last purport, and again now it's very, very deep. For me also, I'm also, still, I'm a practitioner like you. The supreme transcendental truth is Lord Krishna. So Krishna, this person speaking Gita, he is the transcendental absolute truth. He is the highest truth, the highest reality. The whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. That is a version of all Vedic literature. So if you understand what Gita is trying to say, he's declaring Krishna as the supreme. He is the source of everything. So if you read the Gita, if you study the Gita, if you see how it progresses, you understand what is being done is basically pointing out to us that Krishna is the supreme personality. He is the supreme truth. Everything. He is the supreme goal of everything. If you read the Gita, with an open mind, you will see that is the whole purpose of the Gita, is to basically make the point that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the supreme truth. So that especially if you read the 11th chapter, the 10th and 11th chapter, this is where it becomes very, very, that point is made so clearly. What is the version? That is the version of all Vedic literature. Paratattva means the supreme reality, who is understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So there's 3 aspects of God: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So there's one truth that he is perceived in 3 different ways, 3 different stages: as Brahman, or the eternal; Paramatma, or the God who is present everywhere; and as Bhagavan, the supreme person, the supreme beloved person. So these are the 3 aspects. It's the same person, same truth, but depending on your stage of realization, you will see him in either of these 3. So if you see him as a supreme person, you will also understand he is eternal and he is everywhere. So it's Bhagavan includes the other 2. So the Bhagavan, the supreme personality of Godhead, is the last word in the absolute. So the final realization of God is as a person. There's nothing more than that. The Lord says, Matta parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. So Matta parataram nanyat. He's saying there is nothing superior to me. There's nothing beyond me anywhere. So impersonal Brahman is also supported by Krishna. Brahmana hi pratishta aham. So there is the first realization of God is you understand him as an impersonal, eternal reality or light or something like this. So Krishna says in the Gita that he is a support, he is the foundation of that. That Brahman is resting on Krishna. So even if you accept God as impersonal, as an impersonal light, that impersonal aspect is resting on Krishna's personality also. So that's the point in the Gita. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the supreme reality. One whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna, or in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness, is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. A Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality or simultaneous identity and individuality in Krishna. And equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. So the point is that there is a simultaneous oneness and duality at the same time. So there is, because God is one, but at the same time there is variety. Within that one there is variety, there is everything. So like, honey, why is it that door keeps slamming? It's very distracting. This is not, you know. So that's the point, that God is one, and at the same time he is different from the rest of his creation. The rest of creation is also one with him, part of him, but it's different from him. He's distinct as a person. So when we understand that, that's actually when our liberation happens, and that's what I was reading last time. Last verse we can say. So when one is forgotten Krishna, he must certainly be bewildered, but those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that Sarvam Jnana Plavina Jnanagni Sarva Karmani and Nahi Jnanina Sadrisham. So basically saying that Krishna, he's like the sun. So when he comes into your life, everything becomes illumined. Your ignorance goes away. So Krishna is like the sun, and Maya, or illusion, is like darkness. So when you let Krishna into your heart, into your mind, into your life, everything becomes illumined. Just like when you let the sun, when you open the blinds in your room, the whole room becomes illumined. You can see yourself, you can see everything. You know. So, and what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders into Krishna, and that, as it is said in the 7th chapter, 19th verse, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Janaman Mam Prapachante. After passing through many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him, as everything is revealed by the sun in the daytime. So when one sees Krishna, then one understands everything as being an aspect of everything is Krishna. Everything is an aspect of Krishna, is energy. For instance, when he unceremoniously thinks himself to be God, he actually falls into the last snare of nescience. So the last trap of ignorance is to think you are Krishna, you are God. So that's the last. If you're trying to get liberated, but if just before it becomes liberated, you think, oh, I'm God, then you fall back into ignorance, because that's just, because that's the whole reason why we are in ignorance. We don't want to accept God as God. You think we are God, so that's how we, this is the tricky way of being an atheist. Yeah, I accept God, but He's me, that's, and that way, we are atheists actually. If a living entity is God, then how can he become bewildered by nescience? So if someone thinks he's God, but how is he then in Maya? How can he be in ignorance? So does God become bewildered by nescience? If so, then nescience or Satan is greater than God. Real knowledge can be obtained from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. I made the point that if you want to become Krishna conscious, you have to find someone who is Krishna conscious, who can open your eyes. Therefore, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master, and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. For Krishna consciousness will certainly drive away all nescience, as the sun drives away darkness. Even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not this body, but but is transcendental to the body, he still may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the supersoul. So one may have some feeling or realization that you're not the body, you're a soul, you're eternal, or something like that. But you may still not understand the distinction between you and God. You still may be in ignorance, like still be someone of an ignorance. However, he can know everything well if he cares to take shelter of the perfect bona fide Krishna conscious spiritual master. One can know God and one's relationship with God only when one actually meets a representative of God. A representative of God never claims that he is God, although he is paid all respects ordinarily paid to God because he has knowledge of God. One has to learn a distinction between God and the living entity. So basically, this realization of Krishna as a person is actually not, it's a gift. You cannot understand it by your own effort. So if you try to understand spiritual life by reading books or like meditation, you can only go as far as understanding that you're not the body, you're eternal, or there is like an impersonal, eternal reality beyond the material reality. That is as far as you can go by your own effort or through some yoga, meditation like that. You cannot actually understand God as a person. Only that understanding of Krishna as a person can only be given to you, revealed to you by a devotee of Krishna, by someone who has been given Krishna and also by his guru like that. So you can never become Krishna conscious unless you are given, unless you are shared Krishna consciousness by someone who has been who has it already. So Krishna is like that. He likes to be given as a gift by another devotee, by a devotee. So he can only get Krishna from a devotee, really. So this is Krishna's system. So this system is called Sri Guru Parampara. That Krishna reveals himself to a devotee, then that devotee reveals Krishna to another person who becomes a devotee, and that person later gives that person to another. So this is how Krishna is given. He comes down to us. We become Krishna conscious. So Lord Sri Krishna therefore is stated in the second chapter that every living being is individual and that the Lord is also individual. So the point is that the beginning of Krishna's instruction on spiritual life is the first point he makes before he talks about anything else, is that he is an individual, Arjuna is an individual, and all the kings, all the soldiers on the battlefield are all individual. They were individuals in the past, they're individuals now, and they're individuals in the future. So he's saying that never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings and soldiers, nor shall any of us cease to exist in the future. So he talks about them. He talks about them spiritually, but in a plural sense, not in what do you call it? In a singular sense. He doesn't say we are one, and we have always been one, and we will always be one. He didn't say that. No, we existed in the past, we exist now, and we exist in the future. We will never. None of us shall cease to exist. So Krishna immediately talks about the living entity as an individual, as in a plural sense. So even after liberation. So at night we see everything as one in the darkness, but in the day, when the sun is up, we see everything in its real identity. So identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. So this is the important point we made here in this purport, also the next purport which we read before. Identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. So when you actually understand Krishna as an individual, eternal person, and yourself as an individual, eternal person, that is when your liberation is really happening. So this is where we have to come to. We may not fully understand Krishna as a person or accept him as a person, but we have to understand him as a person. That is the whole point of this Gita. That's the whole point of the Vedic literature. That's the whole point of life. So we have to understand the distinction between us and Krishna. We in one sense we are part of Krishna. We are his energy, but at the same time we are not Krishna. We are Krishna in terms of we are eternal. We are part of him, but at the same time we are not Krishna. We have to understand this simultaneous oneness and difference, and that's when we actually become happy. That's actually when we become satisfied spiritually. This is when we actually become free from Maya fully. Before that, we will always be susceptible to Maya. We will never be. Our realization of God is incomplete. So we have to complete it by stepping out of this darkness of impersonalism into the light of personalism. So God is one. Everything is one in one sense, because everything is God. There's nothing but God. At the same time, we are not God. God is distinct from us at the same time. And this is actually the good news, because by that we can actually have a relationship of love, a relationship of eternal, unlimited happiness and bliss. So we can become unlimitedly happy and blissful eternally by that understanding. Whereas for a devotee, the impersonal understanding is actually hellish, because it's so limited in happiness. As soon as you reduce God to an impersonal oneness, that is actually a painful experience for someone who has experienced Krishna as a person. So to get out of this misery of impersonalism, you have to realize Krishna as a person. So this is actually, even in the 12th chapter, Arjuna asked Krishna, what is, he asked Krishna this question. Arjuna asked this question many times through the Gita. What is superior, the impersonal understanding of God, or the personal or impersonal? So in the 12th chapter, the first statement, the chapter is actually about Bhakti Yoga. So Arjuna inquires, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? And Krishna immediately says, he does not actually elaborate. He doesn't say, yes, he just says immediately that those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered to me to be most perfect. He immediately says, his devotee, those who have a personal connection, relationship with Krishna, understanding, wanting to love Krishna as a person eternally, they are the most perfect. And then he says of the impersonalists that, but those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed, and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in a welfare all at least achieve me. So he's saying this is a very long process. And then but Krishna does not recommend this. He says that klesho atikaras tesham. So klesha means misery. Abhyakta sakta chetasam. Abhyakta hika dukkam. Dukkam means misery again. Dehavat piravapyate. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. So klesha atikaras tesham. So it's very troublesome. To make progress on this path, it's extremely difficult. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Because we are embodied souls, to be trying to understand something that is completely beyond the physical existence, completely impersonal, is very difficult. So Krishna, he really does not recommend this process. Although if you follow it properly, you might eventually attain him, but it's an extremely long and painful process, and it's really not impossible. It's actually impossible for us to practice. We have no chance to properly follow it. So Krishna, he doesn't recommend the impersonal process. He recommends the personal process. That this is the final goal of every spiritualist. Even if they are not following it right now, they have to come to that point eventually. So this is what we are doing here. We are trying to worship Krishna as a person, chant his name as a person, call him Atma as a transcendental person, of course. Krishna is not a material personality. He's a spiritual personality. He's an eternal person. He's not an unlimited person. unlimited transcendental person. So actually, some people think that making God a person it makes him limited, but that's actually not true. By limiting God to not having a person, it's limiting him. It's saying that, oh, if God is unlimited, why can he not have a personality? You know, if he's unlimited, then he should also have a person. He's also a person. So saying someone does not have something mean you're limiting him. He's, you know, oh, if he's unlimited, then he should not be able to, you know, whatever, have a son. Like some Christians say that God has only one son, you know. So whereas they themselves may have 5 sons, you know. So I'm become more than God. So by saying that God is limited by being a person is extremely stupid. Actually, it's a really stupid and unintelligent proposition. No, God is by being a person, he is unlimited. So it's just he is an unlimited person, you know. So and the impersonal aspect is also part of him, but that's subordinate to the person. It's resting on the person. So this is Krishna consciousness. So if you practice Krishna consciousness sincerely, you chant this whole name of Krishna sincerely, you can actually perceive this personal, blissful experience of Krishna consciousness. So this is the process of understanding Krishna as a person. This is chanting especially, and associating with devotees, taking prasadam like this, but especially with chanting. So I don't think any lecture I've given in Iceland I've actually dwelt so long on this aspect of understanding Krishna as a person, because this is the point being made in this chapter, that the real way to become spiritually realized, the real way to become liberated is to actually become a personalist. Unless you become a personalist, you really won't become fully liberated from the material world. You will remain attached to this world. You will come back here. So it's so important to come to this stage. So anyone has a question, a comment, or criticism on this point? Any questions online?
Yeah, I was thinking about this when you said about this knowledge. And I was thinking it's like a shield, you know, like a soldier. When they go to war, they put a shield.
Mm-hmm.
So it came to my mind this thought that this knowledge is like a shield for our soul, for our subtle body and physical body. It's like a shield from all these illusions and this material world. It's very strong shield, this knowledge. And today I was thinking that this knowledge is really saves lives, you know. And it's unbelievable how knowledge can save lives. And it does, you know. It saved my life and my daughter's life, and I sometimes I see people are lost, and I try to read them Gita and try to tell them something what I learned from Gita and such, and I see that it's helped them. It's helped them a lot, you know. But I know they will not come and open book. Maybe they are still sleeping or they are in this stage right now. But if I tell something, so I always think, well, it might save their lives. So it came to my mind today.
Yes, that's true. It is like a shield, or like now we have this pandemic, you know, the vaccine or inoculation. You know, if you practice Krishna consciousness, it's like an inoculation against the infection of illusion or ignorance, you know, against Maya. So we have to stay in touch with Krishna. We have to stay connected to Krishna, be on fire. So if you stay in the fire of Krishna consciousness, then you will never, fall into Maya. So this is the challenge, actually. This is the real challenge we are dealing with as devotees. We have to stay in the fire of Krishna consciousness. So that's the whole purpose of these meetings. We're trying to keep this fire ablaze. So trying to light, first of all, trying to light this fire, and then keeping it going, basically. So we apologize for we didn't do a program for 3 weeks because we were moving. So maybe the fire has gone out a little bit for some of us, especially myself. But by meeting regularly, we keep this fire ablaze, and we we stay inspired in practice of Krishna consciousness. So this association is so important actually for this. The association is so important. This is why our movement is called the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So Prabhupada, our founder, established this association because the association increases the fire in all of us. If you're separately practicing, there's some fire going on, but when we come together, the fire actually becomes much stronger. Krishna actually appears among us, with us. When we come together, Krishna, he really appears, and he, makes us, uplifts us much more. So it's so important for us to meet regularly, and so this is to keep us in this fire, to keep us, like you said, shielded from Maya. So thank you for giving us your association and helping us, helping Krishna to appear in our consciousness, in our midst.
I want to ask one more.
Yes.
I was thinking about this arrogant individuals, right? We all get in touch with them very often. And I was thinking why they are arrogant. I mean, do they think they are like gods? They are much cooler than the rest of population, or is it tamas guna? They are in the how to say they are not free. They depend on tamaguna or rajaguna. Or I was thinking with this so much today. I don't know why.
I don't know who exactly you're talking about, but in general, I mean, which arrogant people you're talking. I don't know if you're talking about a certain type of people who are arrogant, but of course, arrogance is, if you know what arrogance is just insecurity. Like someone who is, they are not so sure. So in order to, how you say, push to cover their insecurities, they become arrogant. Someone who's very arrogant, he's usually someone who is actually very insecure. He's not sure. So insecurity is also ignorance. It's tamaguna, of course. So it's a manifestation of tamaguna. Someone who is secure, he's just peaceful inside. He doesn't need to assert himself or like, yeah, I'm so important. He just, because he feels secure, so he doesn't have to tell people that he is anything, because he knows who he is. He's, like you have people who have class. If you talk about like in terms of people who wanna portray themselves as being very advanced or high class or something, so they make a show of it because they want people to know, I am not low class. I'm not low class. I'm very high. They're basically what they're saying. I'm not insecure. I'm so secure. Look at me. That's the whole idea, is that they are trying to show that they are not something. They are not insecure. They're not whatever, low class or whatever. Whereas someone who actually is secure, is high class or whatever, they just are. They don't have to show it. They just are. They don't have to make a point, about anything. They don't have to make a statement or something, because they just simply are. So yes, it is a manifestation of ignorance, a manifestation of deficiency or lack of something, So but people, I mean, sometimes it's a reactionary behavior to try to being told about what is Krishna, what is reality, whatever. They try to react by saying, yeah, I already know, or I already know, I already there, or whatever. It's kind of one way to push you away, So yeah, it can
it's
be.
It's like a mask, right?
Yeah.
It's a mask that person is wearing, but he don't realize that it is his mask. Basically, it's an illusion, right? It's a kind of illusion.
I remember I had this experience in Romania one time. I was traveling on a train, and Romanians are interesting nation in the sense that it's a nation of quite a heritage, and they have a very, very sophisticated language. It's just 80% Latin, so it's a very sophisticated language. People they do have a way of speaking very eloquently. It's a very interesting kind of a culture. So, but it's a country of have a history of a very, very. It's an Eastern European country, so there's a lot of history of very a lot of poverty, a lot of war, a lot of ups and downs, you know. So it's like it's a, you know, it's kind of a, yeah. So people have, you know, it's a lot of people are very like unfortunate in one sense, you know, materially unfortunate. So I remember I was on a train and I was, okay, so I think I was wearing my, no, I was not actually in Romania. We didn't wear dhoti. We didn't wear the clothes because we were in this ex-communist country, so it's kind of a tough place. So I mean, I was on this train and there was this older man who was like, you know, like this, you know, carry himself like he knows what is what, you know. And I trying to explain about, you know, the first lesson of Krishna consciousness is you're not the body, you know, the body changes, you know, you're from body. So I was trying to explain it to him as a person that you have been changing and this and that, and instead of actually taking the lesson, he just basically just labeled what I was saying. Oh, reincarnation. You're talking about reincarnation, like as if he can just, you know, like his defense mechanism was to basically display his discrimination of trying to put you in a box, or you're in that box, or you're one of those people who believe in reincarnation, and avoiding learning the fact that in this life he used to have a boy's body, he had a young man's body, now he is in an old, like middle-aged man's body. So he actually completely jumped around learning anything from my exchange and just basically just putting me in a pigeonhole of categorizing, you know. So this is what the people who are in ignorance but think they're learned, that's what if they look at the world and say, oh yeah, this fits in I learn about this or this or this, these people, this or that. They categorize everything into some boxes and categories, and, you know, based on what they have learned, instead of actually learning something from life. You know, they just want to say, yes, I got it all, I know what everything is, and this is that, you know, they already are, you know, there, you know. So it's an interesting way of, you know, this kind of arrogance. It manifests as this, as someone who thinks that he know everything. Oh yeah, I heard that, I read that in, you know, school, that Krishna is, you know, a Hindu god. You know, they hear about Krishna, and they started learning who Krishna is. They want to say, oh yeah, he is this Hindu god. I learned about him in my religion class when I was 12, and that's, and so I know who Krishna is. You don't have to tell me. I learned everything from my teacher when I was 12, and so that's it. You know, I know Krishna. It's pretty stupid, but, you know, but people are like that. They tend to be this way, you know. Like my first experience with seeing devotees was the opposite. I saw devotees sitting downtown in Lækjar Torg. You know, they were sitting in front of Lækjar Torg, in front of the Útvegsbanki. Now it's the court, you know, it's the municipal, or the it's this court, the high court, I think. Well, so they're sitting in Lækjar Torg, and I saw devotees, and I just could not, like, my mind was just like blank. I could not say, oh, these are these kind of people, yoga people. They were just so different from anything I'd seen. I just saw them watching, like, okay, they're just singing this mantra, and, you know, I was 15 years old, you know, I saw them for the first time, so I was just like, I could not make the first time in my life, I saw something, and I could not take that experience and just categorize it in something that I had heard or learned before. It was so completely foreign to my consciousness, you know. So I just sat there and just experienced. I simply experienced what was in front of me without actually making any comment about it in my mind. I couldn't. My mind just couldn't do that. So the tendency of people is to do that. They take something and they comment on mind and categorize it, and they have some preconceived ideas about it without actually learning what it is. It's called, another word for this is prejudice, you know, fordómar, that you judge something what it is before even knowing what it is. You know, he is such and such person from such and such a race or such a culture. So he is like that. You know, they're like, people make this kind of judgment about people because, oh, he is from this country, so he's from the red religion, which is different from religion, so they are all like that. You know, like, so this is prejudice. You know, judice means to judge, or pre means prejudge. You prejudge someone, or fordómar, which is a nice kind of sounding. So this is arrogance. It's just ignorance and everybody knows that prejudice or fordómar is simply ignorance. You don't even take the trouble to even learn what that person is. You just take that person and put him in a pigeonhole and say, oh, that's what he is, without even getting to know that person at all, So that is ignorance, that arrogance, that's all those things, yes. So it's a very interesting phenomenon, and the point of the whole art of Krishna consciousness is actually get around this tendency of the mind to prejudge something, or to get to the person and somehow make that person receptible of Krishna consciousness. So what we do, first of all, we give people prasadam, we give them the mantra, we let them hear the mantra and they take prasadam, so that way their mind actually becomes purified. It purifies people's consciousness to hear the name of Krishna, to take prasadam of Krishna, and then their mind actually starts to open up to getting more knowledge of Krishna, who they are, like that. So it's difficult to give knowledge of Krishna directly in the very beginning. So we usually don't speak too much to people who are new. We just give them this food, this chanting, like that, and then when they want to know, they want to ask, we give them, or we give them a book. You give the book, then people, when they want, they can open it and read, like so. But speaking to them too much is not easy, especially people here. Actually, Icelanders are a little difficult in that sense. That it's a different culture. It's a culture of, I say, we are very far from like the mainland culture. The culture is like so it's difficult for people to accept too much, to listen too much. You have to give them a very little at a time, just so. Okay, thank you. That was a very long answer.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you for your answer.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion, but it's a whole, it has a lot of sides to it. Okay, thank you. We will do some chanting, japa.
Yeah, we can.
You want to chant the japa today?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, but we can just go offline.
Offline? Okay. Okay, we're going to chant some japa, we're going to do some kirtan, we'll have some food, and maybe you can read the japa, I can say to my mom. What do you say?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for joining us online, and please join us again next Sunday. We will definitely be here. Hare Krishna, thank you.